What is going on today? We were talking about body types and how they relate to powerlifting. This will not be the normal ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph type discussion because frankly those types of body types are complete bullshit. This is going to be talking about femur lengths, forearm lengths, torso length, and how you can use some of these to your advantage and how others might be a disadvantage whenever it comes to powerlifting, and to know what you might be genetically best at starting out and what you would need to focus more time on. So let's dive right in and get into it. All right, so we are going to dive into the 3 lifts and what body type might benefit in those and what you should look for in yourself to see what you might be genetically gifted at to start off with or genetically better at than your other lifts. So we'll start with the squat. You are going to benefit from a shorter torso and shorter femur lengths. Shorter torsos allow for you to remain upright, and short femurs allow you to not have to throw your hips back to get down. You almost have to move out of your way of your femurs whenever you have a long femur or a taller person. So most people who are super good at squat are very short. Most powerlifters in general are pretty short, but short femurs and a short torso allow for you to benefit in the squat more because you don't have to move out of the way of your own body. Tall lifters can still excel at squat, but just a mechanical advantage that shorter people have is their femur length and their torso length. And then whenever you think of range of motion, the taller you are, the further you have to travel to get to parallel. If you're shorter, you have to travel less length, which means the bar is on your back for less time, causing less fatigue. Taller you are, longer the bars on your back, the more distance you have to travel. And that also means the more distance you have to travel up to lock out your knees to fully stand. So in the squat, short torso, short femurs will benefit you the most. In the bench press, it is a thicker torso and short forearm length that will benefit you, where your elbow and your wrist are. If that is super long, you're gonna have more trouble benching than someone who has very short forearms. The thicker torso provides a stronger base. It also provides more surface area that you can slam into the bench and dig your traps and your scapula into the bench more, because it's a thicker area and more surface area would equal more balance in that position. This is a caveat because lifters with long arms can find unique advantages that lifters with short arms can't. Bar position, where you started at, like where you start the rack height at, how your arch is. If you also have long arms and long legs, most of the time your leg drive can be better. Short legs and short femurs don't benefit you in the bench press like they do in the squat, because leg drive is so important whenever it comes to bench. But you're looking for short forearms and a thicker base. So whenever I say thicker, I don't mean fat. I mean the distance between your shoulders might be very large, or in general, you might not be a slimmer person. You might look wider just always. That's just always been your life. You might hold more fat in your like love handle area or in your lat area. That's what I mean by a thicker torso. Also, flexibility and mobility affects the bench press a lot. This is due to the arch. If you have really good hip and lower back mobility and flexibility, you can dig your traps and upper back into the pad of the bench press and still place your butt down and have an amazing arch compared to someone who has like a collapsed arch or a short spine won't be able to arch as much just because their pelvis and their ribs have to go someplace, and it just doesn't make for an amazing time trying to bench press. So for the bench press, if you have a thick torso and short arms, you might advance in the bench press further than you would the other lifts. And that brings to deadlift. Deadlift is the only one where long arms are going to benefit you the most. If you combine long arms with short legs, you have generated the perfect deadlift and sumo deadlift body. That is because the deadlift ends whenever knees are locked out and shoulders are back. So if you have long arms but short legs, your deadlift might be locked out whenever the bar gets to your knees at the top position, as opposed to someone who has short arms and long legs. They're just in for a struggle bus because they have to lift the bar the length of their body. And then the other side of that, if it's neutral, it just sucks either way. Longer arms can create a better starting position for you on the deadlift, but shorter lifters can usually tend to have a better wedge and generate more leg drive because their spinal flexion doesn't have to go so much. You don't have to completely use your spinal erectors to be vertical because you're so short. Your hips kind of do that for you, and your lower back won't take over. So this is not to say that body types are the end all be all in powerlifting. You can see lots and lots of people have success being a tall lifter and they're successful in squat, or being a short lifter and being successful in the deadlift. At the end of the day, it's about genetics and how hard you work. There are some things that you can focus on to benefit you in powerlifting as a whole, and we'll go through those. One is focus on mechanics. Proper form and proper technique are crucial in powerlifting for all body types. To avoid injury and maximize gains, you have to focus on technique and form mechanics. This doesn't just mean like, okay, I'm not rounding my back anymore at the bottom of my squat or at the start of my deadlift, I'm good to go. Work on it week by week, day by day, to dial in form to the point that it is robotic, because that is what prevents injury, and that is what skyrockets your numbers more than anything, more than body type, more than genetics, is working on form and dialing in the mechanics of the lift. You can also train for leverage. You can train to overcome limitations due to genetics and due to the way your body looks. Taller lifters can focus on core activation and building really, really strong abs. They can also work on widening their stance in the squat to limit range of motion. You can get really, really strong adductors, so then you sumo deadlift compared to conventional deadlift. You can work on your arch in bench press, or work on rack position in bench press to limit range of motion there. You can overcome any of these limitations due to your genetics and due to your body type by finding mechanical advantages and leverage advantages. You can outwork some of your limitations. Genetics only get you so far. Hard work, using mechanical advantages, using your leverage to boost your form and your performance are what really matter. Genetic limitations will happen everywhere, but you can definitely outwork those with amazing technique, super, super hard work, and knowing what you could be good at to then know what maybe you should focus more time on and less time on. Powerlifting is a sport for everyone. Whether you are short, tall, skinny, thicker, doesn't matter. You will find your advantages in powerlifting and use that to skyrocket your progress and your gains. This was a shorter style of video, but I wanted to hop on here and talk about how body types can affect the way that you may perform some lifts in the gym, and how it may affect you in competition, on platform, and how you can outwork some of those. If you all did enjoy, hit like, hit subscribe down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.